financial problems, elder law, criminal law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by THAV GROSS. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. Today's topic is when Chapter 7 or Chapter 13 is the best way to resolve a tax problem. Something few professionals know. Dun, 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 dun. Brian Small.
Good morning, Ken.
I think you're familiar with bankruptcy.
Just a little bit for the past 32 years, yeah.
This means we're going to hear from you today.
Probably. You probably can't stop me from talking.
So excited. Jeffrey Kirshner.
Hi. I think I'm going to leave if we have to hear him the whole time.
No, we'll work you guys in.
Okay.
Jim Simasco.
Morning, Ken. It's great to be here.
Okay, Brian, I'm going to give you a case study to work with. Bill and Jenny. They're in their mid-50s. Bill's a paint contractor, makes $150,000 a year. Jenny's a hairstylist. She's making $75,000 a year.
She's showing 25 on her tax return, but she's making 75.
They're both self-employed. I don't know what you mean. This kind of kicks into you, Jeff. Bill's injured on the job, has a major back injury. His income's going to go down to $50,000 per year, which is going to be the profit from the other jobs, but he's not going to be able to do any painting himself. So their joint income before was $225. Their joint income going forward is down to $125.
Which is a significant drop. I mean, they're still making six figures, but they are not able to sustain. It's a major drop. They're not going to be able to sustain their lifestyle.
Their house, $450,000. They got a $350,000 mortgage and a $70,000 mortgage. So there's not much equity there. They're self-employed. They're behind on their taxes. They owe for 17, 18, and 19. $40,000, $35,000, $25,000. They've got $350,000 in their IRAs. Before we go to you on the tax problem, Jeff, can Bill get Social Security disability or workers' comp relative to his injury?
Well, he's not going to get comp. He owns the business. But unless he had his own disability policy, which he could certainly get. Social Security, eventually he could. Social Security, though, is for people unable to work for 12 months or longer. So early on, that's not a solution for him. If this is going to be a condition or injury that is going to debilitate him, though, for 12 months or longer, then yes, we start the process 5 or 6 months after the injury and hope to...
So he's got a major injury. Should I have him call you?
Absolutely.
All right, Bill, call Jeff.
Wait,
Okay.
I
took care of it.
Thank you.
I got a question that comes out of the facts. Bill's still getting $50,000 a year, apparently from
profit.
other jobs, but he's not able to work himself. Is that so he can earn that or have that type of money coming in for his company, and he can still get Social Security disability?
As long as it's considered passive income. So you could be an owner of a business, not do any work, and just reap the profits from it. That's passive income. You could still get it. If he's actually working, if he's doing stuff for the business.
So he kind of would need somebody designated as a manager so he can put himself in just a passive position?
Correct, and based on the facts here, you're saying he loses $100,000 by not being able to do the work. He's just making money based on the profits because he's the owner of the business, which he's entitled to do.
But he's not able to make calls or do anything to forward the business
So we'll make
at all.
Jenny the president.
Then that's completely passive income, though. The more facts you have like that where everyone else is doing things, he's just reaping the benefits because he's the owner. That is passive income, and you're able to have passive income and be eligible for Social Security disability.
Okay.
All right, so now let's look at this tax problem. He's got $75,000, $85,000, $100,000 in taxes, the two of them owe.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so I see on TV all the time, I hear on the radio all the time, offer and compromise.
It's a great concept.
So let's do that, okay?
Okay.
Can we do that?
No.
Why not? How does an offer and compromise work?
It's really simple. Let's just start off with take the assets that you have. Do they exceed or equal the tax debt that you have? If they do, your offer is what your assets are. In this case, they have $350,000 in an IRA.
Wait, you have always said to me numerous times, in bankruptcy,
I didn't say
the
bankruptcy.
IRA is protected.
It is. This is an offer and compromise.
Oh, so it doesn't work that way?
It doesn't work that way. You take the assets. In this case, their IRA is $350,000. They owe $100,000 in back taxes. $100,000 is less than $350,000. Their offer is $100,000
Actually, they'll let you keep 30% of your IRA,
for
don't
the
they?
tax debt. Yes.
Right, because you have to pay taxes
That's
on the
great.
IRA.
So let's
and
take 30% off of 350. Now 70% is still more than
And
the
you have to
100
pay the other 30% because you're going to be taxed on the 350.
Yes.
So you don't get to keep the money.
No.
Okay,
But
so-
in bankruptcy, you do.
All right,
The offer.
Wait,
they're-
all right, so slow it down. So the offer and compromise program does not work here for Bill and Jenny.
It would work
If they didn't have-
the IRA, because they have $30,000 of equity in their house otherwise and no significant additional assets. We can protect roughly 20% of the equity in the home when we're doing an offer. So now you look at that. If they didn't have the IRA, they likely would qualify for some sort of offer based on their income and allowable expenses.
So let's emphasize that. So the offer and compromise in this case, because of the IRA, will not work. But the offer and compromise program is a good program. But here's where it's good. You have tax debt. You have no IRA or 401k. You have minimal assets in terms of equity in your home or cash. And your income, less your allowable expenses, is basically leaves you nothing, so that you're spending what you're making. In that case, in offer and compromise, if you owe $1 million or you owe $100,000, you can settle the debt for virtually nothing, because it's not about how much you owe, it's about how much you have. And if you don't have anything, the federal program, and the state also mirrors it, allows an offer and compromise. But in Bill and Jenny's case, it's a no-go because they have a $350,000 IRA. We'll take a break. We'll figure out how to solve their problem.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP. Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirshner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP.
We were just spinning. We just didn't know what was going to happen next.
At Samasco Law, we deal with these issues every day, especially elder law. Pat went to work for Fran.
Patrick was there holding my hand, kept saying, "We'll get through this, we'll get through this."
He got her husband Medicaid and in a nursing home. Samasco Law got the success they deserved.
Samasco Law is definitely family to me. I really appreciate knowing all of you.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV Gross. Our firm will solve your problem. All right, so we're back. You know, and by the way, taxes is a good topic. You know, the act that just got passed that we still don't know what it says because we won't know until months after when we see all the commentary. Because the way our government works is Congress votes, the Senate votes to approve something, so does the House. And if the bill's 800 pages, they've read a 3-page summary. So we've all read the summary, but the summary doesn't tell us how much money is going to go in that bill to collection enforcement versus audit. Time will tell. But one thing's for certain, there's going to be greater IRS collection enforcement. That's going to be an issue.
There has to be. They're talking about doubling the amount of IRS employees that they have. They're hiring them for some purpose, and it is going to be audit and tax collection.
So Brian, if you're looking for a job, you might want to, see if you could, stick your resume in over to the district director for the IRS.
No, I think that my job will be very busy once the IRS starts pursuing additional enforcement.
I would agree. Plus, in fact, even there's another aspect to it. When times get tough, like for instance right now, the housing market's dealing with increased interest rates, so the mortgages are down, which means people that are mortgage brokers who are basically self-employed will end up falling behind on their taxes. When the economy spins down, the self-employed, what they do, oftentimes they're paying their current year's, they're paying their tax obligation from the previous year with their current year's income, which is not a good thing because they don't have the cash flow to make their estimates. And when they get into a down economy, they can't cover the arrearage from the previous year, and that's when tax problems arise. So you got that problem too.
You are 100% correct. That's exactly what happens. Yeah. Self-employed is, if you are self-employed, the most important thing you can do is not end up owing your uncle. You've got to continue to pay your estimates
on a current basis. But it's hard. It's hard with the pressures of ordinary income.
Look what happened to Bill.
Right, so what do these two guys do? What about, do they put themselves on a collection, on an installment payment agreement to pay off this $100,000 of debt?
Again, it's likely that when you do the analysis, what they can afford on paper is going to be significant enough that they're going to end up repaying the entire balance.
Well, no, can they afford to make it an installment payment and pay it off in 6 years? Because now their income has gone from $225 to $125.
But they can't because of their income going from $225 to $125. But they can, according to the IRS. There's a difference. Just because their lifestyle isn't going to allow for them to continue living the way they want to live, doesn't mean that the IRS isn't going to say that they can afford more and therefore can afford to pay.
So they could get it on an installment payment plan.
They could. It's not necessarily the right move.
Why? Explain.
Well, because why do you want to pay everything back if you don't have to?
So what's their alternative?
Bankruptcy.
How's it going to work?
Well,
how's it going to work for them?
So Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 allow for the discharge, i.e. elimination of the tax obligations if they are the right age.
Well, they're in their mid-50s. Bill and Jenny.
Not how old they are, how old the tax debt is.
Oh, so because here I was thinking, because I'm like over beyond 50, so maybe I would even be able to not pay any taxes. Doesn't work. It's not. So it's not your age.
Well, there's plenty of people that are over 50 that choose not to pay taxes, but the ability legally to do so is not the same thing.
So what are the rules?
Rule: if you want to discharge a tax, an income tax in bankruptcy, it had to have come due at least 3 years ago. It had to have been filed for at least 2 years.
The tax return.
The tax return, your 1040, both state and federal. And you couldn't have been assessed in the last 8 months before filing the bankruptcy.
All right. So how does that work for Bill and Jenny?
So their tax obligations are for 17, 18, and 19. So the first thing that we're going to do is examine whether or not those taxes are dischargeable.
So 17 would come due. You file your return in April of 18. You add 3 years to that, so we're talking April of 21.
Unless they filed an extension, in which case it would have been October of 21.
And it's tax returns that they filed, not that the government filed for them.
Right. So a substitute for return is a government filed tax return. That is never dischargeable in bankruptcy. So if you are thinking, I'll just hide my head in the sand and I won't file my taxes and they'll never figure it out, it's the IRS. They will figure it out. They will file a return for you, and you can never wipe it out in a bankruptcy.
So you don't want to let these substitute returns happen.
Right. If you owe money, file a return. It's not illegal to owe the government money. It's illegal to not file your return, but it's not illegal to owe. And the sooner you file, the sooner we can wipe it out in bankruptcy if necessary. So your 17 return was due in 18, it's dischargeable in 21. Your 18 return is dischargeable in 22. Your 19 return is dischargeable at the earliest April of 23. Now we're at the end of the year now, heading into 2023. It might be wise to wait. We might be able to do something for you.
You're saying somebody comes to you with a bankruptcy issue, and you'll sometimes hold off on filing the bankruptcy and wait strategically?
Yes.
Well, how do you get paid?
How do I get paid?
Well,
Either through the Chapter 13 or get paid in the Chapter 7 up front.
so you're saying if the smart move is to wait, you'll still wait.
Absolutely. It's not about the attorney fee. I don't make my living off of one client. We make our living helping the people get the right result.
I'm kind of joking a little bit, but I'm trying to make a point. It's not always that way out in the real world. A lot of times, if you go to an attorney that only files bankruptcy, he wants to file the bankruptcy right away because he's a sole practitioner. He wants your money because he needs to feed his family, and he's not going to look to the long-term play, which in this case, it's not that long of a term, but it sounds to me like for Bill and Jenny, you're going to wait till at least April 23. Does that make sense?
If we can, yeah, unless there's other factors that force our hand.
All right, let's take a break and then explore this further because I want to know whether they're going to be a Chapter 7 or a Chapter 13.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP.
Time for announcements. I want to remind our viewers to listen to us for Law and Reality Live on the Praise Network, Tuesdays 10 o'clock a.m. and Saturdays 7 o'clock a.m., and on KISS 105.9, Sundays 7 o'clock a.m. We have a live seminar coming up. Our next one is on Wednesday, September 28, 6 to 7:30 p.m. Do your estate plan before it's too late. We're going to go over the elements of an estate plan, how to avoid probate, key planning points you need to know. Attendees receive a gold certificate for $300 off the cost of an estate plan. Sign up at thavgross.com, lawandreality.com, or call 888-235-HELP. The cost of the seminar is free. It's a great opportunity to put that estate plan in place that you need to do. Take advantage of it. Call, be sure and sign up. Seminars fill up fast. We're going to remind you, you can always come into THAV GROSS for a free consultation. We do them via teleconference, in office, anytime you want to do it, whatever is your comfort zone, we're happy to accommodate you, given that we're kind of coming out of COVID, but people are still have some concerns. Just call 888-235-HELP or go online to sign up for a free consult. Debt issues, tax issues, estate planning issues, business issues, elder law issues with Pat, disability issues with Jeff Kirshner. Again, sign up at lawandreality.com or thavgross.com or call 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Also, check out our website for free reports. Resolving Tax Problems, The Real Solutions by myself and Jeff Linden. Bankruptcy, Is It Right for Me by Brian Small. How to Save Your Home from Foreclosure. Business Formation Loans and Grants for Small Businesses in Detroit and Michigan. The Retiree's Guide to Social Security from Pat Simasco. I want to thank our sponsors, THAV GROSS, Simasco Law, Kirshner Law. Now back to the show.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Pat was recommended by a friend who insisted that we really needed a trust. And he said, I know somebody who will do a good job for you.
At Simasco Law, we deal with estate planning and trusts every day.
We had excellent service from Simasco Law. Any questions we had were addressed. Our estate is in order and it had been set up so well that nothing needed to be done. I would just highly recommend Simasco Law.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
All right, we're back. So, we figured it out. We can discharge these taxes with bankruptcy. So my question to you is, are you going to put them into a Chapter 7 or a Chapter 13? My basic understanding is if you can do a 7, that's a better deal.
So the answer is,
Faster.
of course, a Chapter 7 is the least costly, most effective method to eliminate debt. Do they qualify? So at $125,000 worth of income, they're on the cusp of whether or not they're going to qualify for a Chapter 7 or a Chapter 13 because of the means test. That's that test that you
mean
have.
whether they'll qualify for a 7 or whether they won't, and then they would have to do a 13.
Correct.
Okay.
If they can qualify for a 7, then they can keep their IRA, they can keep all their other assets for the most part because the way these people have their equity situated, and they can
they have
wipe
very
out
little equity in the house.
and they would wipe out $100,000 worth of IRS debt when it came time to
And if
file.
they had any credit card debt, they'd wipe that out too? Mm-hmm. All right, so who decides whether they can qualify? Is it up to you?
It is.
Okay, so make them qualify.
I can't necessarily. It's up to me to run the numbers and do the analysis and fit them into the means test. And if the means test says that they don't pass, that they have to be a chapter something else because Chapter 7 is not an eligible opportunity, then we're going to look at Chapter 13 and try and pay as little as is humanly possible.
So let me understand. Do you make that decision and then or if you make the wrong decision, how does that play out? If you say they qualify for a Chapter 7, is that the end of the story, or is it, or does the trustee in the bankruptcy have a right to challenge that?
Well, it's always challengeable, but the answer is, if I tell somebody they're a Chapter 7, they're a Chapter 7.
Okay, but if you fudge the numbers,
I don't fudge numbers.
oh, okay.
Well, how do they evaluate what the business is worth?
So sometimes you have to, so you look at, the simplest way is, do the liabilities of the business exceed the assets of the business? Is there an ongoing saleable asset there? If, and we can get into it and talk about it forever, but the gist of it is based on the totality of the circumstances, this is a personal services company for the most part. It offers very little in the way of saleability, so it's going to have
So you're gonna
limited
value it
value.
low?
Very, very low.
And you're able to usually get that accepted by the trustee in bankruptcy and,
Yes.
and those issues?
Yeah, but let them go ahead and investigate. We don't have an issue with that. We disclose everything. The key is disclose, 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 and then you get rid of your debt.
So if the remaining income was only $80,000, you'd be sure that they'd be a Chapter 7,
Yes.
basically?
Yeah.
If their remaining income was 150, would you be sure that they'd probably a Chapter 13 or not?
Most likely a Chapter 13.
So it's this 125 that I just happened to pick for the outline that puts you in the middle of not knowing whether there'd be a 7 or a 13?
Well, yeah, I mean, we didn't talk
What's
about
your
what...
gut say?
It depends. Do they have 2 kids at home? Do they not have kids?
They have 2 kids.
They have 2 kids?
Teenagers.
125,000 with 2 kids is going to qualify as a Chapter 7.
And a dog.
Oh, my God, yes, they're definitely a Chapter 7 now.
Well, because dogs sometimes like $20 worth of turkey per week from the
Apparently.
deli, depending on the dog.
The key is, listen, if you have the tax debt, if you have the other debt, and you want to know whether or not you can get rid of it, the first thing is you got to get the analysis done. We do an income and expense analysis of the budget. We do an analysis of the tax debt itself, because not every tax obligation, just because it's 3 years old, etc., meets the qualifier
payroll
to be
taxes doesn't
dischargeable.
work.
Payroll taxes, if you're personally liable for, we'd want to go towards the Chapter 13 because those have to be paid in full. They're never dischargeable.
But income taxes are,
Income taxes are,
as long as it's not a substitute for a return.
or as
And
long
you
as you
meet your
didn't file a
rules.
fraudulent return.
All right, so 7 versus 13 is a decision that's going to be made based upon their income versus expense analysis?
Yes. And asset,
But we
and
know
the value of their assets.
For these two, we know that one of the 7 and 13, one of them will work. Any way you look at it, you can get rid of the tax debt.
Correct. And it's significantly better than trying to do an offer and compromise
Well, offer and compromise won't work at all.
because they have $350,000 in their IRA.
And in both scenarios, they get to keep their IRA.
Yes.
Sounds like a pretty good outcome for them.
Yes.
Okay, the only next thing that we have to resolve in the next 4 seconds is you've got to fix Bill so that he's able to work again.
I don't think that's going to happen, so Jeff is probably going to get him Social Security disability.
Then that's what we'll do. Have a great week. We'll be back next week with Law and Reality.